What if the greatest artist in history had turned into the most deadly war engineer ever? Imagine Leonardo da Vinci, not as the painter of the Monalisa, but as the mastermind of powerful machines used in battle. It could be a movie scene, but this is not as far-fetched as it seems. Leonardo was more than an artist. He was a thinker, scientist, and inventor whose ideas were centuries ahead of his time. While most of his fame rests on his graceful paintings, very few knew he also designed machines of war. Huge crossbows, tanks, aircraft, even underwater suits. His notebooks were filled with these strange and potent inventions, many of which looked truly ahead of their time. Now, think this. What if he actually built them? What if Leonardo had gone beyond mere sketches of inspiration and put them into actual combat? Would he have changed the course of European history? Could he have engendered a war never before witnessed by the world? In this video, we will explore a world where Leonardo da Vinci did not just envision the future, he built it for war. Stay with us, as things are going to get interesting. Leonardo da Vinci is known as one of the brightest minds ever in history. Born in Italy in 1452, he is best referred to as the painter of the most famous artworks, the Monalisa and the Last Supper. Yet, Leonardo was to be much more than just an artist. He was also an inventor, scientist, engineer, and, above all, thinker. His mind was filled with advanced ideas that were way ahead of his time. He loved to see the world as it was and study how everything worked, from the human body to birds in flight to machines. Leonardo kept thousands of pages of notes, filled with drawings, observations, and designs. Many of these notes were machines meant for flying, swimming, and even fighting. He was archetypically curious, always on the lookout to refine something or invent something new. Although he had no formal education in science or engineering, he did manage to gain a profound understanding of things through observation and experimental testing. Even whereas many of his inventions were never built in his lifetime, his thinking was so advanced that some are still studied today. By any measure, he was a genius, his creativity unbounded. But understanding who he was, one gets an idea of just how far-reaching and detrimental his inventions could have been in warfare. Leonardo da Vinci didn't just imagine beautiful painting, he also came up with powerful machines that could have changed the face of war. Such inventions included the famous armored tank, which looked like a moving shell in the shape of a tortoise with cannons pointing in all directions. The tank was to roll over the battlefield with protection for its soldiers inside. In a time when horses and swords still ruled 15th century armies, any such protection or fire would have replaced the traditional cavalry and changed the way wars were fought. Another incredible design was the giant crossbow, or ballista. The weapon was built huge and very heavy to launch stones or arrows over long distances. At a siege, it could damage walls or simply intimidate the enemy with its size. Just as heavy would be the trauma and terror of confronting such a beast. Leonardo designed the aerial screw, an early helicopter-looking machine. Although it could not have flown anywhere in the materials of his time, the idea was far ahead of its age. With right materials, it might have been deployed for reconnaissance, watching enemy movements from above. He did not stop there, but even went on to consider naval warfare. His designs for the diving suit would actually let soldiers move furtively underwater and attack ships under the cover of darkness. This idea would have been particularly important for Venice, as a powerful sea nation. Underwater attacks would have been able to give them the surprise advantage in naval battles. Last on the list was the multi-barrel machine gun, an invention that had a number of barrels set to fire rapidly in succession. At a time where soldiers were made to reload single guns after every shot, his rotating gun could have changed the ballgame. In fast-moving battles, such a weapon could have proved to be a great advantage for one army or the other. These inventions bear witness to the working of Da Vinci's mind, not just to envision the future, but to alter it. If his designs were to be built and put to use, the chronicles of war might have treated him very differently. We are now going to imagine people who had the opposite history, a history where Leonardo da Vinci drew his inventions and then brought them to life. This alternative past has Cesare Borgia, a powerful leader swooping in on Da Vinci's talent and pouring wealth and resources into him for the construction of war machines. With all this support, Leonardo begins to produce real war engines, tanks built with armor, rapid-fire guns, and massive crossbows. The machines are now more than a figment of imagination. They've become a reality on the battlefield. Soon, Da Vinci's inventions would be deployed by the most elite mercenaries across Congregational Europe. Other nations see this and try to catch up in an early arms race, all of them wanting the advanced weapons and the balance of power usually changing. Wars become far worse, far faster, and far greater in destruction. Imagine 1512, the Battle of Ravenna, with tanks rumbling across fields and Da Vinci-designed artillery smashing enemy troops in the field. The result might have had an entirely different face. Even graver moments in history may have been altered. Was the fall of Constantinople delayed or forever eclipsed because of Da Vinci's contraptions? But it has its price. All this fighting might have decelerated the Renaissance, an era of art, learning, and discoveries. Innovation would still be in full flow, but mostly toward developing weapons. The power of Da Vinci's genius could have transformed Europe, but not with beauty and science, but with war and power. So, if Leonardo da Vinci had such powerful ideas, why didn't he build them for war? The answer lies with his personal beliefs. Da Vinci was a man who adhered to the ideal of peace, and he did not like real violence or destruction. He sometimes worked for powerful rulers and occasionally sketched war machines. They were things he had very little interest in seeing used in battle. Most of the experts believe that Leonardo drew these weapons more as an intellectual exercise rather than for the purpose of a real war. He enjoyed solving problems, understanding mechanics, and exploring the boundaries of what was considered possible. Building a design did not always mean he wanted to see it constructed. Instead, it meant he was curious about how it could work. In fact, some of his designs contained errors that seemed deliberate. The belief is that Leonardo put in these flaws so that no one could take his work and convert them into real instruments of killing. This was a man smart enough to make extremely lethal weapons, but wise enough not to unleash them. In the end, the man who could have changed warfare forever may have chosen not to. The mind that could change the world may have chosen not to. The life of Leonardo da Vinci reveals a distinction between creating toward progress and creating toward destruction. He had in his mind to construct machines of severe war, and he refrained from doing so. The choice speaks volumes about his personality. He used his genius to explore, to understand, to inspire, and not to destroy. In a world that seemingly perpetuates power and force, one sees Da Vinci as someone who believed knowledge should be used for benevolent purposes. It makes us wonder, what if we had more builders on board nowadays practicing benevolence? That is, what if at every turn modern science and technology operated under the strong moral conscience? Those who would say, we can build it, ask, should we? That kind of thinking can create a better future for everyone. Leonardo da Vinci dreamt of the future, and in his dreaming chose never to arm the present. A genius who had the blueprint for war but chose the brush over the blade. What do you think would have happened if Leonardo had become the weapons engineer? Tell us your version of history in the comments below. If you enjoyed this imaginative and historical odyssey, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell for more mind-boggling what if from the past.